Welcome back to another episode of the Three Pillars of Man. I haven't showered in 2 weeks.
Is that something you should have said to them on camera, or? I mean, listen. As a friend, I'm glad you feel comfortable enough to tell me things, but I am a fan of there's some things you can keep to yourself,
Right.
I don't.
Well, I mean, yeah, I could have.
Look, again, appreciate that you're comfortable enough to tell me these things. That's what makes us brothers. But I think there's some things that need to be left mystery or secret.
That's fair.
And I think that's one of
That's one of
them. Yeah,
that's fair.
Again, appreciate it, but I don't need nothing.
Yeah, that's fair. I'm tripping. I'm tripping. Alex, what we got today, bro?
So today's episode is titled "Updating Your Software," and today we don't have a clip, but I do have a quote I would like to read.
Okay.
And the quote states, "Nature does not wait for the stagnant. Just as natural selection removes what no longer serves the environment, life quietly filters out those who resist growth. The mind, like software, must be updated routinely and intentionally. Those who fail to evolve mentally, physically, and spiritually risk becoming obsolete. In a world that rewards adaptation, constant self renewal is not a luxury, it is survival." So, my brother, how does that quote resonate to you?
That's everything we've talked about.
100%.
That's everything we've talked about up to this point. Everything you do has got to have some sort of a growth pattern to it.
100%.
Because if not, the saying is, if you're not growing, you're dying.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
And so that whole, I like the correlation between growth mentally, spiritually, and physically with a natural selection.
Yeah.
Right? Because ultimately that's what it's about. Right? That's what natural selection is.
Right. Survival of the fittest.
Right. Right. And if you're doing those three things, then ultimately you are becoming a better human being, or a better, a better unit.
Yeah.
In the machine of units.
Right.
And it just becomes, you become stronger, you become better, you become smarter, you become, more whole internally.
Right.
And so I like that.
I like it. So I'm gonna briefly go a little bit scientific about this quote here, and we're gonna dive a little bit more into the natural selection. So today I had time at work, I had a little downtime, and I was just kind of going down a rabbit hole about this quote, and then just diving a little bit more about natural selection. So I'm going to briefly, high level, talk about what natural selection is, and then I'm going to tie it back to what we're talking about. So natural selection is a process in nature where organisms that are better adapted to their environment are more likely to survive and reproduce. Over time, this means that the traits that help with survival and reproduction become more common in the population. Here's a simple example. Imagine a group of rabbits living in a snowy area. Some have white fur, some have brown fur. The white rabbits are harder for predators to see in the snow, so they survive more often and have more babies. Over generations, more and more rabbits in that area will have white fur because that trait helps them survive. That's natural selection at work. If I'm a brown rabbit, right, and I'm in this snowy tundra environment, and I'm in an environment where I am already at a disadvantage because I stick out like a sore thumb. So I dove a little bit deeper. I said, okay, if I'm a brown rabbit, how can I not necessarily avoid natural selection, but how can I better equip and adapt to natural selection, right? So as I dove more into it, kind of in my notes here, I'm like, in the snowy environment, Brown rabbits are at a disadvantage. Like I said, they're more visible to predators and are therefore less likely to survive and reproduce. But natural selection isn't about immediate elimination, it's about adaptation over time. So brown rabbits could be better equipped for survival in several ways. One, environmental shift. If the snow melts earlier each year due to climate change, brown rabbits might suddenly blend in better during longer warm seasons. Their disadvantage could become a new advantage, shifting natural selection in their favor. Two, behavioral adaptation. Brown rabbits might start developing new survival behaviors, like being more nocturnal, burrowing deeper, or being more alert. These behavioral changes, if passed down genetically and learned culturally, and it passes that trait on, over generations, brown may evolve in a better camouflage shade, adapting the lineage to its environment. And then the last one, migration. Some rabbits might move in areas with less snow, selecting their environment rather than being selected by it. If they thrive elsewhere, they'll continue reproducing, maintaining their population through location rather than camouflage. In essence, natural selection isn't rigid. It doesn't only eliminate, it rewards traits that improve survival and reproduction, which can happen through environment, behavior, and mutation. Brown rabbits could become equipped through many of these mechanisms. So, the reason why I wanted to do more of a deep dive in the perspective of the brown rabbit, and I believe what I just read about being the brown rabbit, you can apply it to our normal life here. So, one of the things that resonated with me was switching your environment. For example, you see a lot of our comrades and our brothers and sisters, or people that we love, friends, family, etc. You see a lot of them would stay in their home state or hometown, and they don't necessarily move out of that home state and hometown. And so then what tends to happen is you have like a small town type of mindset.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's why um I really preach on, if you have an opportunity to leave your hometown, do so, because not only will it shift your mind and expand your mind on different things, and you get to see the world, what the world looks like, and but also exposes you to how like other people think, how other cultures are, and overall you'll just be it's a growth mechanism, right? Yeah. So the reason why overall I'm saying this whole brown rabbit thing is we can't become a victim of natural selection. And the biggest thing here is we have to continue to adapt. We have to continue to learn. We have to continue to apply new things that we learn. And sometimes what happens with us is sometimes we get just stuck in our ways, or we get fearful, right? We get fearful about things that the unknown, I'm not sure about that. I don't think I need to learn that. You see it happen. I'm pretty sure you've seen it in the industry that you've worked in, where you've worked with older, realtors or brokers, and they're not necessarily shifting with the industry.
Yeah.
They're kind of like, hey, this has worked for me for 30, 40 years, and I don't feel the need to change because it's been working for me.
Right.
But then what happens when it don't work for you? By then it's too late.
Yeah.
So that's why, and I see it even in the industry I'm in. People that's been working in utilities for 40, sometimes 50 years, and they just you get stuck like a root, like a plant.
Right.
A plant, you're in the pot, right? But you're not getting watered, you're not getting no sunlight, so you're just essentially just stuck in the soil.
Shrinking.
You're just shrinking, right? And so that's the biggest thing, man. We just have to not only not be fearful about change, because that's just a human instinct, right? We fear change. We when we see change, we're like, I don't know. We get real uneasy, right? Like,
Yeah.
for example, I'm not gonna get too political here, but with the tariff situation, you're seeing a lot of people panic. A lot of what's gonna happen? Oh, my portfolio's dropping, my 401k's dropping, my broker's account's dropping, etc. But I think this is where the spiritual aspect of this comes in. The more grounded you are as far as like the purpose you're chasing, and the more grounded you are as far as you, whether if you're a believer in God, or a believer in whether you're a Muslim, Buddhist, whatever. The more grounded you are with a higher calling and within yourself, external events can't move you.
Yeah. Because you expect it.
Right. So that's kind of what resonated with me, is just like, even just as I was just kind of doing more of a deep dive, it's like, from a spiritual aspect, right? Adaptation for me is more of a, you're adapting to, you have to adapt to the world, and just have faith that regardless of what's happening in the world, like, I'm still going to be okay. Um, and that's why, and we preached in different episodes. We might not have like specifically like focused on it like we're doing now, but we briefly touched in previous episodes where, man, it's all about just finding that purpose within yourself. It doesn't have to necessarily make you millions. It doesn't have to make you famous or etc. But it has to be something where you can really just hone into, and just really focus in that, and then so you can find some type of contentment within yourself.
Right.
And I feel like once you do that, it doesn't matter what's happening outside of yourself, as long as you're doing what the higher, like I said, the higher calling is telling you to do. Like for me, what I'm more focused on, how God's trying to lead me. So God's telling me like, hey, you need to go left while everybody's going right, I'll go left. But I need to have faith, and I have to trust that me going left is the right thing to do.
Right.
Because sometimes we might get a call, we might get, God might tell us like, hey, you need to go left, but we go right anyway because we following the crowd, because we fear that, okay, if I go left, man, I'm by myself. It's scary.
Yeah.
Nobody's, and it's a scary feeling, because you can be isolated, but at the end of the day, it's all about having faith, and really not following the crowd. Not following these cultural norms, and and that's, I feel like that's what happens with a lot of folks, man. Like, I feel like a lot of people, you know, when God tells them like, hey, actually, man, if you go here, you can be successful. But because of blowback from friends, family, people you don't know, you get right back into that, crabs in the barrel type of mentality, where it's like, damn, I was about to get out that barrel, but I was like, I just don't know where this is going to lead me.
Yeah.
And so I think that's what happens with a lot of us, man. We just gotta, we we're we are not willing to truly sacrifice to grow.
You said that, and just that's it. That's not.
I think that's it. I think a lot, that's where, and I've asked myself this question, right? Like, am I really willing to sacrifice, whether it's friends, whether it's family, whether it's pleasures, whether it's like, hey, I gotta wake up, or like just basic, basic stuff.
Yeah.
Like, am I really ready to sacrifice everything so I can grow? What do you think about that statement there? As far as how does it resonate with yourself? Like,
Yeah.
do you feel like you're sacrificing everything so you can really grow in the space you're in today?
I think to an extent,
to an extent. Yeah, I feel the
which
same.
is not a full sacrifice, but
Right.
I think a lot of my 20s was focused in that.
Mm-hmm.
I got, and probably you pretty similarly.
Yeah.
Yeah, I I started realizing like if I the one the one quote that clarified a lot of this for me was you are the five people who you hang around the most. And that flows bank account, that flows mentality, that flows health, um, mental health, and it flows physical.
Flows everywhere.
It flows everywhere. Because if you've got someone, if your three closest friends that you hang out, whether you hang out with them a lot or not, um, if they're doing the things that you normally don't do, right? You can be so locked in internally by yourself.
Right.
But if these other people are the influence that you're going to, you are more than likely going to be what's happening around them, right? You are in their universe. As much as you may be, a lone wolf in that,
Right.
it doesn't always equal the same, and you may not get hit as hard as they do,
Yeah.
By just being in their circumference, but I do believe that there's a lot of sacrifice that has got to be made to get to a point where you want to be.
Yeah.
And wherever that is, right? And that could be financially, that could be, mentally, spiritually, physically. There's so many things that falls into. Um, and going back to like what I was saying was like, in my 20s, man, I started going to the gym every day. And then like you start realizing like, oh well, I've got this amount of time and I'm not going, but my friends are going to do this. And then you start losing friends or stop communicating with those friends because you have these other priorities.
Right.
And then it's up to you to maintain that priority. Right. That's the hard part. That's the hard part for a lot of people is maintaining that priority.
Yeah.
Right. Because you do have those other moments where if they're your buddies is like, man, come on, let's go fishing today instead of going to work. Or if you work, I had this happen. I worked really close with a friend, and we worked. Before I got into real estate.
All right.
He was like, yeah, we're gonna apply together, we're gonna work together, whatever. We were working for like this pressure washing company.
Yeah.
And he was like, we stayed up late the night before, and he was like, wow, let's skip work. And I was like, all right, right. But in my head, I was like, nah, I wasn't raised this way. Like,
right.
if you have something you got to do it. Period. Point blank.
Right. Right.
But I let that influence me,
Mm-hmm.
and ultimately we got fired. Because of that. And then I started realizing like I can't let other people's influence me.
Dictate my emotion.
Right. And then that happens internally too, because you were the first person that's going to lie to yourself.
Oh yeah. Oh my gosh. 100%. You're gonna be the first one to making an excuse to why I need to do what they told me I need to do.
Or I don't need to wake up and go to the gym.
Right.
Right. I'm tired. I need a rest day.
Right. I'm right. Or I don't need to save money. I only have this life once, so I need to enjoy it.
I don't need to take a shower. The shower's cold.
Right.
I mean, the hot water heater went out. The water heater went out.
Right. Right, man. It's funny. We are our best and worst enemy. And it's like we know what we need to do.
Yeah.
We know what we need to do. There's no excuse. In my opinion, bro, there's just no excuse anymore because I feel like we are in the information age where if you want to learn about how to do something, there is so much information about like, hey, this is what you need to do, this is how you do it. There's people out there that can tell you step by step what you need to do, but we just don't do it. We find ways to get out of it. It's like, like a simple example, saving money, being budgeting. There's so many financial gurus about personal finance, about investing, and etc. So much information out there, like people doing courses, but you know, but then people don't want to learn about that stuff, and then next thing you know, they sitting there looking in the mirror like, damn, why am I broke?
Yep. And it's that whole natural selection piece circled, like,
Yeah, right,
right, like
right,
that. If you have the ability to change your environment, you
absolutely,
have the ability to gain knowledge,
yeah,
and you have the ability to outlast.
yeah.
Right? Everybody has that ability to
Everybody,
be like, you know what? They did 13 calls, I'm doing 15.
right,
Right? You have the ability to outlast. And I think a lot of people, because they don't train that, and I heard this on a podcast a while back, that the more that you do the things that you don't want to do, the easier those things become.
right.
Um, and if you can just get in a routine of just, well, I don't want to wake up. I mean, things start falling into place,
Right.
right? Well, if you go to bed at 12 and wake up at 5, and you do that consistently for the next 2 weeks,
right,
your body's going to start naturally adapting to going to bed earlier because it needs its sleep.
right,
Right?
right.
All of those things start happening naturally. You start hanging out with your friends that you're just not really on the same vibe with.
Yeah.
You stop hanging out with them, guess what happens? You start finding your own space.
Yeah, man. I think that's big there. It's again, it's when when that is happening, right? Like I'm just gonna stick to the friend example, right? When that starts to happen, where you had a group of friends you were hanging out with, y'all were going out, hanging out, and all that. Then all of a sudden, you know, when your buddy starts to, yeah, and life happens, and life happens at a different rate for different people. Like you might have a buddy who's, he found found his wife. Now he's about to have kids, and now he's living more of that the family life now. You might be still in the, I'm still out and about, but he's doing his thing now.
Yeah.
But I think that's the true. That's where a true friendship is. Where, like even with us, right? Do we talk all day, every day? No. There's probably times where even then when I was living in Charlotte, it might be months. It might be years.
Yeah.
But then I think a true friendship and a true brotherhood is that can happen.
Yeah.
But then when y'all finally connect, that nobody feels no type of way because you were out doing your thing and you were growing at your own rate and you were focused on yourself, and I was doing the same thing.
Yeah.
And so that's why, I know with me, I'm like, when people, if it is somebody I haven't talked to in a while and they start going, like, start apologizing, like, hey, bro, I know I haven't hit you up, man, but, just things been busy, I'm like, bro, like, you good? Yeah, like, just, are you okay? Like, everything's straight? Like, it's like, yeah, man, everything's good, bike is good, everything's good. I'm like, bro, I'm good. But, like, I think the thing is, man, like, if you're around people that feel like they have to be the priority, regardless of like you have a family or etc., then you might need to distance that. That's the, I think that's where a lot of people get in trouble, especially with, and that's how people don't grow either. People, you let people become a priority in your life that don't need to be a priority.
Yeah.
And again, it's all about, are you really ready to sacrifice in order to grow? Because sometimes that means you gotta change your environment and leave.
Yep.
That's a scary sight, man. Especially people that you've grown up with, y'all been through certain situations, etc. But it's like, y'all might be here, but then like you're going here, and you're going here, right? But then I think a lot of us where we mess up is like we have our buddy here that's not, he's not necessarily growing. That could be his fault, or it could just be that's just how life is right now.
Yeah.
Sometimes we try to come back. So yeah, I think where we mess up is, man, like I said, life happens quicker. Well, let me say now, like success can happen quicker for others than can happen quicker for others than with us. And so sometimes, man, like we're both here, right? These are us and our buddies. Like we both grew up together, got in trouble together, all that, and then maybe one day we started seeing like, okay, like what I'm doing now is I see the error in my ways, and so I need to change those ways, and I need to find ways to grow. So like you're doing this, and your buddy here, he might not have discovered that yet.
Mm-hmm.
Doesn't mean anything's wrong with him. Just life happens differently for different people. So we're going here. We're growing. We're focused on knowledge and trying to learn more about just what's happening in the world, or more about the industry that we're in, etc. We're going to the gym. We're eating right. We're spiritually, we're trying to make sure wherever God has in store for me, and wherever God's plan is, that I'm following that plan.
Yeah.
Where we're focused on that. And our friend is still here. I think where we can mess up is we and this is not like looking down or looking down upon somebody or anything, but it's like we'll look and we see like, and we start having sympathy. We're like, oh man,
I haven't hit him up in a minute.
Yeah, oh man, he's not
doing his
he's not doing his thing, he's not. And so then we try to come back down and belittle ourselves, right? But we can't do that. We gotta keep going. And sometimes if he figures it out, great. If your buddies don't figure it out, it is what it is.
Yeah.
Because it gets to a point where the gap is just it's gonna have to be him coming up. And you know what I mean? And it has to be him coming up instead of you coming down.
Yeah.
And I think that's where a lot of us mess up at.
And that can look like many different things.
For sure.
Right?
Sure.
The things that I started noticing when I started outgrowing friend groups was I'm not interested in the same conversation.
100%.
Right? All the conversations that are happening are about, current events or whatever. I'm not connecting to this anymore.
Right.
It's just I'm not interested in the same things.
Right.
And I'm like, man, it's happening again.
Yeah.
I gotta be alone for a little bit.
Right.
I gotta be in my cocoon of priority tasks, right? And you gotta complete the things you gotta complete, and then ultimately you start doing that at a high level, and there's gonna be some lonely moments, dude.
Oh
like,
yeah.
You're gonna get to the point where you're just not hanging out with the same, like you're just not hanging out with anybody.
Yeah.
And you're just doing your thing.
You're gonna have those isolated moments for sure, man. Like,
but it's important with that, to not become enclosed, right? Not to shut off. That can become a problem in itself. Like you can have low serotonin. You can have a lot of things not going for you.
Yeah.
But you have to be open. You have to have those conversations. You have to put yourself in situations that you're uncomfortable with.
Oh
right?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
And I mean it happens with many people. Like one thing is like when kids start working at a job, like a career.
Career, not just like a little dead end job. Right.
And then their other friends are still, partying, going out, doing whatever.
Yeah.
And then you're like, I'm resonating with these other conversations more.
Yeah.
Then you need to understand that it's okay to pull yourself out of that situation.
And you know what, man, we should not feel sorry about that. I mean, I know it's human nature to want to be a part of the crowd and have FOMO, like fear of missing out. But again, it's all about the faith aspect where it's like, okay, I don't know where this path is taking me, but I know as long as I exercise some discipline and consistency in this path I'm in, I can get to where I need to get to. you know, but it's the fear of the unknown. That's the part where people it spooks.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, man, I gotta see it. It has to be tangible. If I can't see it, I'm not going to do it.
Yeah.
But what's faith, right?
Mm-hmm.
Faith is taking that step,
yeah,
and not knowing whether you fall flat on your face or it could lead to another step.
Yeah.
So
it goes back to that. What is faith without action?
there you go.
And ultimately, it's going to put you in a lot of different spaces. Mm-hmm. It's going to put you some, like we talked about, uncomfortable spaces, places where you're like, I don't know if this is right, but you got to keep marching. You got to keep walking.
And you gotta like an example that I gave with the whole brown rabbit, white rabbit, right? And I was talking about the environment, like switching your environment. That can happen with like multiple iterations. Like you can go into another environment in another space, you're like, okay, nah, this ain't really my space. Go into another space, this ain't really my space. But you gotta find the environment, just how I gave the example about the brown rabbit changing in his environment from snow to something where he can thrive in. You're gonna have to do that also, and that can happen through your whole life, where you can be here for 5 years, then you outgrow it, go somewhere else for another 5 years, you outgrow it, and you're always evolving. But you can't get to a place where you decide, you know what, I'm done. I'm just gonna stay here.
Yeah.
And then now, essentially, you're the brown rabbit in the snow. And a hawk is looking down. He sees, oh, prey.
Yeah.
And you become, you become prey.
Yeah.
Pretty much.
And there's, you made a good point. Understanding that that's going to happen multiple times.
Oh yeah.
It's not going to be just once. It could be, but expect it to be multiple terms.
Right. Right.
Multiple terms of loneliness and uncomfortableness. And then you'll find a group and you're like, oh man, I'm still moving up.
Right.
And then you just have to be able to detach from the situation. Just be like, it's time for me to, be in that next room.
Right.
Right. Who are the next 5 people I got to be around?
Right.
And start focusing on that.
Right.
And spend time with those people.
Mm-hmm. Think of it like software, bro.
Yeah.
Think of it like our iPhones. We get updates every couple months.
Yeah.
I feel like that's how you gotta treat your life. You gotta update yourself, constantly update yourself. Whether it's reading a book or doing a online course on something that you've always wanted to do, or always wanted to learn about. We're talking about the gym. Change your routine. Instead of starting with bench, start with incline.
Yep. Or calf raise.
Calf, whatever. Start. Think about it. If you did 100 push-ups, right? If you did that for
90 days.
For 90 days, eventually 100 push-ups is going to feel easy, right? But then it gets to a point where it's diminishing returns because it's not a challenge anymore.
Yeah.
And that's the same thing you apply to life. It's like you can be here, then all of a sudden, comfortable, good, life is good. I'm not rich, but I'm at a good spot where I can take care of my bills, take care of my family, etc. But then you don't realize, because it feels good, you don't realize that it's actually you're actually going down.
Yep.
And you don't realize it until you're rock bottom.
Right.
So
it's that complacency game.
Dangers of comfort, like we said in our previous episode. Dangers of comfort, man. They can.
Yeah, I mean, and that's where the course evaluation comes from. Yeah. Am I still on the right path?
Yeah.
Am I still on the right course? Am I doing the right things?
Have those checkpoints with yourself.
Am I hanging around the people I need to be hanging around?
Right. But then again, it all comes back to, okay, after you had that checkpoint, what you gonna do? Are you ready to make that decision? Yeah. It might look ugly.
Are you willing to sacrifice?
Are you willing to accept the blowback you might get if you decide to change change your approach, bro.
Only
you, man.
And that you got to be honest, you got to be real, and you got to be able to do it. So tell me, what how does this apply? I think I think the entire podcast was about how it applied. To be honest.
Nah, yeah, we touched on all aspects of it, but just to wrap things up here. So again, update your software, right? Constantly adapting. That's the thing. Constantly adapt to your environment while also finding the stillness within yourself. So how does that apply mentally? From an external standpoint, you have to continue to adapt, continue to learn, continue to stay current. I'm not saying like get like so invested into it where you start losing yourself. Externally, you need to know what's going on. You need to stay current. Always update your software. Just how in the iPhones they're constantly updating. You have to update yourself, and internally, you have to find that stillness, find that contentment within yourself. Where regardless of how the world is changing around me, I am good. I'm going to stay on track. I have faith in what I'm doing is working. So mentally, I guess spiritual too. But mentally, that's what's going on. Physically, again, if you're constantly doing the same stuff when it comes to physically, as far as training, you'll get the same results. And at the end of the day, you'll never grow. You'll never get better. I mean, think about it like jujitsu, right? If I'm just constantly trying to practice, my top game, and then I get on the bottom, I panic. I don't know what to do.
Yeah.
So put yourselves in those uncomfortable positions and where you can grow from, at least from a physical standpoint. You gotta find ways to get uncomfortable in your training, right? And then spiritually, I want to read this because again, and there's three things here, right? One, adapt through self-awareness. He who knows himself is never truly at the mercy of the world. Two, shed the old to grow. To cling to what no longer serves you is to invite actition of yourself. Man, I need to go back to spelling. That word almost got me, guys. I'm sorry. But three, embrace change as sacred. Adaptation of the spirit is trust in the unseen path. Those who resist change resist their own becoming. 4, align with purpose. A soul aligned with purpose is naturally selected to endure. 5, seek higher knowledge. In stillness, the soul listens. In wisdom, it grows. In growth, it survives. So that's how what we talked about applies to the 3 pillars of man.
Yeah. Have purpose. Move towards the purpose. Live in purpose.
And adapt.
Yeah. That's good.
Yeah.
I think that's solid.
I love it.
Yeah. Well, Alex.
Like, share, subscribe. Like I keep saying, and I'm going to keep saying it. If you don't like it, I don't care. We are not investing a lot of equipment, a lot of major production and all that. We want this to be as authentic as possible, and we want y'all to be a part of the journey that we are both on to thrive and become successful within our mind, body, and our spirit. 3 pillars of man.